Dear friends, this is my fourth video in a series entitled Dr. N. Adhavan's lecture series in the subject quantum mechanics. So far, we have seen the problems and their exact solutions of harmonic oscillator and rigid rotator. In this video, we take up a real physical system, that is the hydrogen atom, and we see the method of solving the corresponding Schrodinger equation. In fact, Schrodinger wanted to first apply his formulation to this hydrogen atom problem because of two reasons. It is a real physical system, and the other one is he had the expression of energy values already obtained by Niels Bohr as early in 1913. Bohr assumed that the electrons in atoms revolve around the nucleus in such orbits in which the angular momentum is an integral multiple of the Planck's constant. He derived the expression for energy which is inversely proportional to the square of the principal quantum number. So, Schrodinger's formulation should get this expression. With this brief introduction, we step into the problem. Hydrogen atom is the simplest of all atoms, and it contains a proton inside the nucleus and an electron revolving around the nucleus from outside in a specific orbit proposed by Niels Bohr. The electrostatic attraction between the proton and the electron constitutes the potential energy. The potential energy of the hydrogen atom is V of r is equal to minus k into E square by r, where E is the charge of the proton, minus E is the charge of the electron, r is the distance between the proton and the electron, and k is the constant, which is equal to 1 by 4 pi epsilon 0. So, if we write the Hamiltonian operator, it will be like this in equation 2. It takes the form h is equal to p square by 2m minus k into E square by r. We know that the momentum operator is p is equal to minus ih cross del, and therefore the Hamiltonian operator becomes h is equal to minus cross h square by 2m del square minus k into E square by r. And the Schrodinger equation takes the form minus cross h square by 2m del square minus k into E square by r psi of r, which is equal to E into psi of r. By looking at this equation, we can say the potential, that is V of vector r, is equal to V of scalar r, because the potential is function of the magnitude of the radial variable r. Therefore, one can say that the potential is spherically symmetric, which means the potential is direction independent. It is only the function of the radial variable r alone. As a result of this, one can take advantage by transforming the problem into the spherical polar coordinates. Why we have to transform this problem to spherical polar coordinates? Because we expect, due to this spherical symmetry of the problem, the equation, that is the differential equation, may split up into three equations, one each for each variable. So for this, we substitute the expression for del square in spherical polar coordinates in the Schrodinger equation. Then the equation becomes minus cross h square by 2m into 1 by r square dou by dou r square dou by dou r, plus 1 by r square sin theta dou by dou theta sin theta dou by dou theta, plus 1 by r square sin square theta into dou square by dou phi square into psi of r theta comma phi minus k into E square by r psi of r theta comma phi is equal to E into psi r theta comma phi. So after rearranging, we get an equation as in equation 3b. For the separation of variables, in the usual way, we write the function psi of r theta comma phi as r of r into y of theta comma phi. That means we are splitting the function psi into two different functions. One exclusively depends on the radial variable, and the another function which exclusively depends on the angular variables theta and phi. That is the idea now. So after the substitution, full Schrodinger equation takes the form in equation 5a. So after rearranging, we get the equation given in 5b, just a mathematical rearrangement only. That is, if we take the radial function into the radial derivative and the angular function into the angular derivative part, so we get the equation given in 5b. So what next? We just divide the equation 5b throughout by the functions r of r into y of theta comma phi, and rearranging the radial and angular parts, we get the equation given in equation 6. So one can notice that on the left hand side we have only the equation in the radial variable r, and on the right hand side we have the equation with the angular variables theta and phi. We have somewhat separated the equations. This is the first step. So on the left hand side we have the radial variable, on the right hand side we have the equation of angular variables. So this is possible only they are equal to a constant. So this is not the new idea. It's already we have applied this in the rigid rotator problem itself. Now we have two equations 7a and 7b, out of which 7a is exclusively in r variable and 7b in theta and phi variable. So equation 7a can be written as d by dr into r square dr by dr plus 2m r square by cross h square into e plus k e square by r into r of r minus gamma, that constant, we denote that constant by gamma. So minus gamma into r of r square is equal to 0. That is, after some simple rearrangement we get an equation given in equation 8. So this is the radial equation. If we come to the theta and phi equation, we have 1 by sin theta dou by dou theta into sin theta dou by dou theta plus 1 by sin square theta dou square by dou phi square y of theta comma phi, which is equal to the same constant minus gamma y of theta comma phi. So one can easily understand this equation is same as the Schrodinger equation for the rigid rotator problem. The eigenvalue equation for the operator L square, whose eigenvalues and eigenfunctions are gamma is equal to L into L plus 1 and y of theta comma phi is equal to ylm of theta comma phi, which we termed as spherical harmonics, which is equal to square root of 2l plus 1 by 4 pi into L minus mod m divided by L plus mod m p L m cos theta e power I m phi. The viewers are requested to view my previous video available in this YouTube channel. So this is the link. So if you want, you can go through it. Substituting the value gamma is equal to L into L plus 1 in the radial equation, that is in equation 8, we get the equation given in 10. So we have substituted here the value of gamma, which is equal to L into L plus 1. So the equation 10 takes this form. Now we are going to apply the usual methodology, that is we define new functions and new parameters in order to make the differential equation very compact one. For this, so we define a new function u of r, which is equal to r into r of r, and alpha, which is equal to square root of minus 8m e by cross h square, and n, which is equal to square root of minus m by 2 cross h square e into k into e square. Also, we define a new variable rho, which is equal to alpha into r. So we are going to transform the r equation into rho equation with the function u of r. So after substituting these things in the equation 10 and 11, we get the equation given in 12. That is d square u by d rho square plus within brackets minus 1/4 plus n by rho minus L into L plus 1 by rho square into u of rho is equal to 0. So this is the equation in our hand now. So we have to solve this equation subject to the boundary and admissibility conditions. Equation 12 should be solved subject to the boundary and admissibility conditions. For that, we have to test the equation at the boundaries, because at first we want to check whether our solution will behave as we desired at the boundaries. So that is the first thing. For that, we take the limits of the variable r, or in other words, the limits of the variable rho, which runs from 0 to infinity. So these two are the boundaries. At one of the boundaries, first we consider the right extreme boundary, that is rho is equal to infinity. At rho is equal to infinity, we find the equation 12 behaves like this. If rho is equal to infinity means the n by rho and L into L plus 1 rho square, these two terms are 0. Therefore, we get d square u by d rho minus 1 by 4 u of rho is equal to 0. So the boundary conditions, that is u of infinity is equal to 0, let us to have only the negative exponent, which means normally we can write the solution of equation 13 as a e power minus rho by 2 plus b e power minus rho by 2. But due to this boundary condition, that is u of infinity is equal to 0, we cannot have the positive exponent because the positive exponent part will blow up when rho tends to infinity. So only we are left with the negative exponent part. Therefore, we have the solution in the form e power minus rho by 2 for the function u of rho. So that is for the boundary at rho is equal to infinity. So if we have the general form of u of rho, that is if we write u of rho as e power minus rho by 2 into x of rho, in which e power minus rho by 2 will take care of the boundary condition at rho is equal to infinity, and x of rho as usual will be expanded in the form of an infinite series. Substituting equation 13 in equation 12 and dividing throughout by e power minus rho by 2, so we get the equation as in equation 15. So we have a simplified form now. So if you look at the other boundary condition, that is at the other boundary rho is equal to 0, u of rho should behave like rho power s, because rho power s is equal to 0 when rho is equal to 0. So that is the assumption now. Therefore we write u of rho is equal to c into rho power s as an approximative solution for u of rho, where c is a constant, and substituting this in equation 12 and matching the leading order coefficients, that is the dominating coefficients, we get a condition s into s minus 1 minus l into l plus 1 is equal to 0. So this equation is satisfied only when s is equal to l plus 1 or s is equal to minus l. So these are the two conditions under which the equation 16 is correct. So what we expect is, out of these two values of s, we prefer the first choice s is equal to l plus 1 because the choice s is equal to minus l violates the boundary conditions. If we have rho power minus l, then it will blow up when rho is equal to 0. Therefore, we have only the condition for s which is equal to l plus 1. In order to find the solution to the differential equation in 15, we expand the function x of rho as an infinite series. This is regular procedure. So upon writing this, the function u of rho satisfies both the boundary conditions u of infinity is equal to 0 and u of 0 is equal to 0, provided this series should not violate the boundary conditions, satisfy the boundary conditions as well. On substituting equation 17 in equation 15, we have the following equation from which we can generate recursion relations. So we have this form of equation. So if we take the terms n by rho and minus l into l plus 1 by rho square inside the summation, we get the equation given in equation 18. So by writing the coefficient q plus l into q plus l minus 1 minus l into l plus 1 as q minus 1 into q plus 1. So we are just simplifying the term within the brackets. Now we argue that equation 18 is possible, or equation 18 is correct unless the coefficient of each power of rho in the right hand side is 0. So this is the usual procedure only. Collecting such coefficients and equate them to 0 leads to the following equations. So the rho power lth coefficient is 1 into 1 plus 2l into a2 minus l plus 1 minus n into a1, which is equal to 0 as per the condition. So rho l plus 1th coefficient is also 0. Similarly, we write the rho l plus sth coefficient as 0. So from this we get a ratio as plus 2 by as plus 1, which is equal to l plus s plus 1 minus n divided by s plus 1 into s plus 2l plus 2. If you see carefully, then when s tends to infinity, the ratio as plus 2 by as plus 1 tends to 1 over s, because in the numerator we have s and in the denominator we have s plus 1 into s plus 2l plus 2. So s by s square will give us a term 1 by s. This 1 over s mimics the ratio for the series e power rho also. So this is exactly the same form of the series of e power rho. Therefore, the function u of rho in equation 13 finally will be like e power rho by 2. Already we have taken it as e power minus rho by 2. Suppose this x of rho is of the form e power rho, then finally we have u of rho is equal to e power rho by 2, which tends to infinity as rho tends to infinity, which is not advisable. It is violating the boundary condition u of infinity is equal to 0. So we have to do something to avoid. So what we are going to do is, as in the case of harmonic oscillator and the rigid rotator, we are going to terminate the infinite series after some terms, say s terms, such that the ratio as plus 2 by as plus 1 is 0. If doing so, we get the condition on the parameter n. Previously we introduced n as an parameter, now we get a condition on the parameter n, which is equal to L plus S plus 1. So n should be L plus S plus 1. Since L and S are positive integers, which makes n also a positive integer, and additionally we get a condition that n should be greater than 1. The number n is termed as the principal quantum number, as it determines the allowed values of other integers like L and S. From the definition of n, which is n is equal to square root of minus m divided by 2 cross h square e into k into small e square, we write the energy eigenvalue E as En, which is equal to minus m e power 4 divided by 32 pi square epsilon 0 square cross h square n square. That is the same expression obtained by Niels Bohr, where the value of n can take values from 1, 2, 3, 4, which clearly reveals that the energy is quantized and every distinct value of it corresponds to an energy level of hydrogen atom. On substituting the corresponding numerical values for the quantities m, e, epsilon 0 and cross h, the value of En can be written as En is equal to minus 13.6 divided by n square electron volts. So this is the energy expression for the hydrogen atom. Now it is clear that the energy purely depends on the square of the principal quantum number as proposed by Niels Bohr, which in turn depends on the value of L, which according to equation 9a is restricted by L greater than or equal to mod m, where m is the quantum number associated with phi equal. Now we have three numbers n, L and m. They have interrelationship with each other. Among these three, n is the principal number because it restricts the values of the other two variables. So we call that n as the principal quantum number. Further, we can see if n takes 1, 2, 3, 4 and so on, L can only take values 0, 1, 2, 3 up to n minus 1 only. So we can have n different choices for L. Then for the case of m, we have minus L minus 1, minus L minus 2, then up to L minus 2, L minus 1 and L. So we have 2L plus 1 different combinations for m values. So in total, for the same n value, we have n square different combinations of L and m, which means each set of n, L and m corresponds to an eigenstate, and therefore n square number of states have the same energy eigenvalue, or in other words, we say the system has n square degeneracy. That is, for a particular value of n, we have n square states of same energy eigenvalue. So we have finished our part with the eigenvalues. We are moving to the normalized eigenfunctions part. For that, we do recursion operation from equation 25. Then we get a relationship between AQ and A0 as follows. So AQ can be written as AQ, which is equal to L plus Q minus 1 minus N divided by Q minus 1 into Q plus 2L into AQ minus 1. So from Q minus 1 we can get AQ. From AQ minus 1 we can get AQ. Similarly, if you do this for Q times, we get AQ is equal to L plus Q minus 1 minus N factorial divided by Q minus 1 factorial into Q plus 2L factorial into A0. So we have a direct relation between AQ and A0 variable. So substituting this in equation 17, so we write the solution of the x equation as x of rho is equal to summation q runs from 0 to infinity L plus Q minus 1 minus N factorial divided by Q minus 1 factorial into Q plus 2L factorial into A0 rho power Q plus L. So this is exactly the same form of the series of associated Laguerre polynomial. So after rewriting this in the form given here, x of rho is equal to n into rho power L plus 1 into L 2L plus 1 n plus L of rho, where L 2L plus 1 by n plus L rho is the associated Laguerre polynomial and n is the normalization constant. So the associated Laguerre polynomials can also be obtained or generated using the Rodrigues formula as given in equation 31. Coming to the normalization constant, its value can be obtained from the orthonormal condition of the associated Laguerre polynomial, which reads as integral 0 to infinity rho m e power minus rho L m of rho L prime m prime of rho d rho is equal to L factorial cube divided by L minus m factorial delta L prime. So this is the Kronecker delta. It has a value 1 when L is equal to L prime, otherwise it is 0. So now we revert the expression to the original R variable using the relation rho is equal to alpha R, where alpha is equal to square root of minus 8m e by cross h. The radial function R of R can be written using U of R is equal to R into R of R as R NL of R is equal to the form given in equation 33. So in equation 33, we used a quantity A0, which is nothing but the Bohr radius, which can be written as 4 pi epsilon 0 cross h square divided by m e square. That is the radius of the first orbit of the hydrogen atom. So now the wave function can be obtained by substituting equation 33 in equation 4 along with equation 9b, which reads in original r theta and phi variables as the form given in equation 34. Combining the r theta and phi solutions, we write the final form of the wave function as psi nlm of r theta phi. So here n, l, m are the quantum numbers associated with the hydrogen atom, out of which n is the principal quantum number, l is the orbital angular momentum quantum number, and m is the magnetic angular momentum quantum number. So already we had an expression for energy in equation 26, and in equation 34 we have the expression for wave functions. Therefore, we conclude that the problem is completely solved. These are some wave functions. Psi 100 is the ground state wave function, and psi 200 is the first excited state wave function for L is equal to 0 and M is equal to 0. The other two equations are for N is equal to 2, L is equal to 1, and M is equal to 0, minus 1 and plus 1. More videos are available in this YouTube channel in the same subject. So if you want or if you are interested, then subscribe to this channel. Thank you for listening and learning. If you have any queries, please write your queries to n.adavan@gmail.com. I hope we will meet soon. in the next video. Thank you.